I'm going to share 10 common pitch deck mistakes that we see day in and day out at the deck doctor's office. Some of these may be controversial, others may be extremely obvious to you, but all of them are hurting your chances as an early stage founder at raising venture capital. As we all know, the fundraising process is competitive, and if you're doing any of these 10 things, you're hurting your chances drastically at leaving a good impression with early stage investors who are looking at dozens of pitch decks on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to run through what the mistakes are, why they're mistakes at all, and how you can not make those mistakes. Let's get into it. All right, number one on the list are mission slides in general, and especially those that say nothing. About 2 years ago, we started making mission slides for clients and just found that for the most part, early stage founders can capture the mission on a team slide. While they say they care about it, they most likely don't care that much about a mission, and especially one that doesn't really resonate with people, like the one here, empowering the guardians of mental health with the information they need to protect our society. I read it a bunch of times over. Maybe you get it. I certainly don't. We're talking about guardians of mental health, protecting our society with information. It doesn't move the needle at all, and it's quite vague and buzzwordy, and we don't want it at all. So just move that mission statement out of your deck, or somehow weave it into this founder market fit slide or some other way to talk about your vision without having some kind of cheesy mission statement to kick off your otherwise rigorous business pitch deck. Number two, SaaS pricing slides. This may be a little controversial. Investors want to know how you're making money and how you will make money. But the SaaS pricing slide that looks like it was just nicked off of your website, it doesn't really tell people that much. It really just kind of highlights your pricing model today, but it doesn't talk about things like your ACV, how you're going to expand contract value, how you're going to, kind of add on services, and how that pricing model will evolve over time, which is a much more important point than the pricing model today. So when you're thinking about this, don't confuse business model with pricing model or just pricing sheet, and really just kind of think about, all right, what's important for investors to know about my business model? Maybe it's about pricing today, but how does that evolve as we get bigger and stronger and more powerful in the future? Number three, bad AI images. I see this more and more recently. When you're pulling images online that are obviously AI generated, it just leaves a kind of a weird taste in people's mouths. Everyone can kind of tell that this is an AI driven image. As you can see, there's like a kid that's just like floating in the air on the middle image here on the left side. ChatGPT's gotten extremely good at image creation. Make it feel like it's on brand if you're gonna pull an AI image. There's ways to do it. Don't just drop in awful AI images. They just look really unprofessional. Even worse, stock photos from 2007. I don't want to see any handshakes in front of a skyscraper or anything that looks like it was from the early days of the internet. Honestly, the AI image is probably better than that, but definitely don't use any stock images. Slides that should have been a doc. So you're building a pitch deck in what's called a slide medium. So you have basically a design software. Sometimes it's Google Slides, PowerPoint. Some of the AI builders are getting really good at this. But you're using the slide medium to tell a story and present your information visually. And if you're just simply putting text on a slide, you may as well be sending a doc. Something like this is not engaging. It doesn't tell me where to move my eyes. It doesn't give me some sort of graphical element to illustrate the point. It literally is just a few sentences that I have to kind of squint to read. They're all different sizes. This is a bad use of the slide medium, and we see this all the time. So, if you're building a pitch deck, understand you got to build information design. You got to guide people through what you want to tell them and keep it engaging, and don't do things like this or things like this, where you're just dropping a whole lot of text on a slide. We see this way too much. People, especially early stage founders who are really close to their businesses, feel like they got to get every word across. They can't let any stone be unturned. And if you're looking at the slide, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. I'm probably not going to get the point that you want me to get, which might just be that 68% of US households own a pet. That could be, you see that number, it's baked into the fine print here, but maybe that's the point that I should leave with from this slide, and that could warrant a slide, but it's baked into so much text, and this is just a huge mistake we see very, very regularly. Number 6, competition slides that just talk about features. We see this all the time. People like to, put this on their website, which can be useful on a website, but for an investor pitch, when we're talking about competition, we don't really care that much about hand-picked features that you're clearly going to check the box on. This slide right here looks, I immediately assume that it's cherry-picked, that it's convenient, and if we're just differentiating on features, who's to say that our competitors aren't just going to implement those features? So when we talk about competition, we want to talk about competition in approach, competition based on incentives. How do we have different strategies for different reasons, or position ourselves differently from other market incumbents in a way that's not just strictly feature-based, but has some underlying longevity in its rationale. So that's number 6. Number 7, multi-slide builds for no reason. We see this a pretty good amount. People like this concept of a build slide where you click from one slide to the next and something else pops up and then something else pops up. All that's doing is making your pitch deck longer. And if you've watched any of these videos, one of the main things that we tell people is don't make your pitch deck longer than it should be. Investors don't want to read a long deck. They want to read a short deck. They have a lot of decks to get through. You want to, surface the information that's necessary. And if I'm clicking from slide to slide to slide to get the point that ultimately, I could get in one slide, then you're just wasting space and it's just kind of cheesy. Here's an idea. Just put all that stuff on one slide. And then there are some exceptions to this rule where you have, a build slide that's structurally nice, but it's showing different information. Maybe it's different screen grabs, but it clearly shows that this is part of a section. There, that makes sense. Build slides in general aren't not well taken, but when it's just a waste of space, it simply is just a waste of space. Number 8, team slides with no faces. You'd be surprised how often we see this. It is just simply suboptimal to not show your face on a pitch deck when you are looking to receive investment, which is kind of clearly, especially for early stage venture capital, it's a really human driven process. So you're just removing all the humanness from your pitch deck if you don't put your headshot on a slide. So don't do that. Number 9, spelling errors. Okay, I think that one speaks for itself. And number 10, no narrative headlines. This is, I think, the number 1 mistake. It's probably the worst thing you could possibly do in a pitch deck. And bottom line, it's just when people slap words like problem or solution or go to market on their pitch deck as the slide header, and then force me to read all of the text and all of the information on that slide to hopefully, maybe, get the point that they were trying to convey. This is suboptimal for many reasons. Number 1, it's not skimmable. Number 2, it forces me to spend a lot of time, and I probably won't spend that time looking at your slide. And then number 3, for the most part, people actually have points that they want to convey, and if they're just hidden in big walls of text and long slides, you're not going to optimally get the point that you want to get across to the person reading that deck if you don't deliver it to them in a very crisp narrative headline. All right, that is it for our top 10 mistakes. What other mistakes are you guys seeing people make in their pitch decks? Do you disagree that things like spelling errors are okay on pitch decks, or things like a whole lot of text? Let me know in the comments below. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another episode of Second Opinion. And until then, peace.